So I better turn that down. Let me check the dashboard. Yeah, pretty soon the Instagram's gonna be integrated with the YouTube and Twitch and well, what's the other ones I got? YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. Looks like everything's on. YouTube is on. Facebook is on. Twitch is sending data. See, I had to get on Restream about this, and like, for the price I'm paying, I could buy vMix. So I'm either gonna get reliable connections. Yeah, see, it just went on Twitch and then it came off. I'm either gonna get reliable connections from these guys, or I'm gonna go probably switch to vMix. I'll probably just end up concentrating on just one thing, like YouTube or whatever. Yeah, it's bouncing on and off of Twitch. Hang it. And sorry, Restream, you guys are gonna have to figure this out yourself. I can't in the middle of this stream do your diagnosis for you. This really, really sucks. But oh well, that's how it goes with the live stuff, right? I'll be starting in a second. So I guess I'm on. I guess I can't fix the Twitch, so whatever. So here we go. Okay, so welcome to Evidence-Based Audio Engineering and Education, and this is episode 119, I guess the second one with the name change, and this is called We Used SM7s Before Cloudlifters. And that's right, believe it or not, before every forum parrot in the universe said SM7B, SM7B, everything's about SM7B. We used to use SM7s. We used them on snares. We used them for vocals. I think pretty much all the Sacred Reich's vocals I ever did were on the SM7. What we didn't have were Cloudlifters, and we didn't really have an issue of gain. Every mic preamp we had in the big studios back then, you could turn it up plenty to get an SM7 loud enough to record. I did some articles about mic preamp gain in the more common interfaces and things that we can buy now, and more common interfaces in mic preamps, actually. And yeah, they don't have that much gain, but it was still enough. And there's a couple of videos out there, and I think we tested this ourselves as well, that there's that idea that the top end of the mic preamp style is noisier than the rest of it, and that's claiming that the noise doesn't go up in a linear fashion with the gain. Because if it does that, then you're not changing anything. But there's an idea that there was more noise than there should be towards the high end of the dial, and you were safe for boosting the signal ahead of time somehow. And that's why the Cloudlifters and cathedral pipes and things like that are out there. But when they're actually tested, it seemed like even with the cheapo, the Behringer stuff that everybody hates, it was still quieter just to turn the mic preamp up than it was to put the mic preamp in the middle or whatever and use a Cloudlifter. And we constantly see people who are just getting started, and they ask a question, and a bunch of Dunning-Krugers that don't know any better but want to seem smart, they tell the guy to go buy a Cloudlifter and an SM7. Almost any other mic would be better. I mean, ask them what they're really doing. Are they doing a podcast or something? Look at me, I'm using this RE20. I don't need this RE20, man. Like, those $20 Samson mics are pretty good. The USB one, if that's all you're doing, you don't even need an interface. Maybe you do. If you need an interface, there's a billion mics out there that are going to work better for you. And they're not going to be anywhere near the money. I mean, I wouldn't even expect... I bring it up all the time that past show guest, Vern, who does all the ACA broadcasts and stuff. He does amazing work with Audio-Technica AT2020s, which I don't even think those are $100. So there you go. Anyway, so let's get into the meat here, and first things first, returning to the what was this thread called? Logic behind tube versus regular mic sound difference. Remember, we were talking about all different things. Like people, again, it's with the claims. The claims that this mic preamp sounds better than that mic preamp when a guy can't tell the difference between the two of them. The claim that one DAW sounds better than another even if they null completely. And this one is if you built the exact same measurement mic with the tube versus a transistor, are they going to sound different? And there are ways to make them sound different, but in general, if you're staying in the linear range, they're going to sound pretty much the same. But this is where religion really comes in every single time, and you get all this. You just get the worst kind of magical thinking. And so this time I said, like I said, it's about religion. And sure enough, I had to make a post here because somebody said. He's talking with a scientist. There are some science-based people in safe spaces forum, believe it or not, sometimes. He says, I actually agree with the vast majority of what you said here. The only place I'd push back is the idea that science is the only arena that covers the real world. I would refine that to science covers what we can perceive and what we can test. Now, there's various different definitions of what you mean by covers the real world. But if you're talking about the sound of a microphone or the noise of a microphone or the distortion of a microphone, that is what you can perceive and that is what you can test. You may not know how to test it yet, but you most certainly can. And so to me there's only there is only science. And so depending on what you're saying, what covers the real world. Other things cover the real world, I guess. But if you want to understand the what you can perceive and what you can test, that's science. Even if it's a subjective thing, you can say, here's how you get that subjective thing, but you don't necessarily put a subjective value on it. And so I just asked, what else is there? And someone answered me, history, art, or any area which deals with revelation, such as religion, is all non-science. Yeah, I guess. So I said, sure, but then it doesn't exactly cover the real world, or that statement is so vague as to be meaningless. If we want to find anything objective about the real world, there is only science, or at least there's no part of that isn't the realm of science. And somebody answered me with, he's talking about Bible stuff. And, so, like a real punk, I had to answer, well then, that certainly doesn't cover the real world, but I'm starting to understand why, despite all the evidence to the contrary, people think they hear massive differences between mic preamps and other gear that tests exactly the same. Anyway, this keeps going. Science, art, history, religion, all these have intrinsic value. Yeah, they do. They don't all have intrinsic value if you're trying to figure out why a microphone sounds different than another microphone. That's all science. Science covers that completely. Now, science may not, well, I won't even say this, but you could make a claim that science can't tell you why you like one microphone sound better than another. Let's see. So, this is why it's the epistemology, right? Like Peter Boghossian says, if you need to replace a door, you need to know what size that door is, or it sure help. And there's different ways you could figure out how big that door is. You could use a tape measure, or you could ask a dog. Now, one of these things is gonna be a better path to truth, right? It's going to be a better path to knowledge than the other one. Asking the dog is revelation. And, the tape measure, there's your science. And so thankfully somebody asked, so what can the Bible tell us about tube versus solid state mics? Anyway, so thankfully, Sharp is back on this thread like he was earlier. The point is, science underlies everything. It's not a layer that lives separately that can be flipped on and off with the switch. The more we learn, the more we know, and the more we know, the more we know what we don't know. Science is how we figure out the latter. So anyway, this is why we continually deal with this just pseudoscience, nonsense, non-science, and a lot of why I do this show, because why should you be separated? If you're going to be separated from your money, I want you to be, I want you to get something for it. But just blowing your money for nothing, or blowing your resources or your time for nothing, it's not productive. So I'd rather you were happy with what you got. So that's why we do this show. Anyway, I'm sure this thread's going to be going on, and we're going to come back to it a million times. I was going to probably get, or Samson was going to get, another Mackie, no, not Mackie, sorry, Behringer XR 18. It's a portable mixer audio interface. It's got 16 mic preamps and a ton of mixing functions, awesome effects, pretty serious routing. I mean, it's just a great remote-controlled mixer. But then one of his friends was telling him about an Allen and Heath, and that one is the same thing, but it has the capability to expand to 32 channels. You can buy this other thing that adds 16 channels and or adds 16 mic preamps and I think 4 or 8 outputs, and so it's twice as much. He says the routing is better. He says it's a little bit more intuitive. I see that it says that it's an audio interface. It said something like, let me see, where did it go? USB audio. Okay. Built-in interface streams multi-track audio to your Mac or PC via a flexible patching system. All input channels and the main left-right can be recorded at the same time. Or you may choose to record something different, such as effects returns or a pair of mixes. When they say all, I wonder if they mean all 32 possible or all that come on this thing with the 16 or whatever. The returns from the computer can be assigned to the input channels. The interface is class compliant on Mac OS X, and drivers are available for Windows systems. Either way, it will be recognized straight away by any DAW supporting ASIO or Core Audio, including Logic, Cubase, Reaper, and Pro Tools. Nice to get a Reaper mention, huh? One problem here, I'm almost guaranteeing this. If you're lucky, it's Thesicon drivers. This is going to be probably the same type of drivers that you get with the Behringers and the pretty much every audio interface out there that's not RME when you're talking about USB. And these things can be pretty good or pretty bad. They're all slower than RME for one thing, but some of them, Behringer for the longest time on the X32, the Midas M32, the XR 18. I don't know if this has been fixed finally. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. But only the first stereo pair of audio was available as non-ASIO on Windows. So if you wanted to use your Windows audio, you guys know about what this show talks about all the time, routing audio between apps. It's a pain in the butt, especially on Windows. You need multiples of these ins and outs. And the Behringer drivers, they got broken sometime a couple years ago. They used to work. I think you either had 8 or you had all 18 or you had all 32 available. But now there's only a stereo pair. And that's not even quite right, because I've seen audio leaking out of some of the other streams. So I worry that everybody uses these same drivers, which is kind of like why I'm using RME. But it looks good. I was trying to check the prices on this thing. So the base unit is says $1,099 at Sweetwater. And then if you want to expand it with that AB16 with the snake that gives you another 16 channels, that's another $1,099. Like, I wonder if you can't just plug 2 of these things together, because at least you get something out of the other part. And that's kind of a crazy pricing. That doesn't seem right. unless something's really wrong with these mic preamps. I mean, why should that other thing cost the exact same amount? So something's weird with the pricing. If I had to do this again, I might just buy the Behringer. I don't know. Maybe Behringer's XR18 drivers have been fixed. Maybe it's abandonware at this point. Maybe they're going with that wing or whatever. But this looks very similar to how that XR18 works. And who knows, maybe it has its own Wi-Fi that actually works that you're not going to die from. So it says computer connectivity USB 32 by 32. If that's true, man, this is a lot of bang for the buck right here. But that extra 16 channels, it's just, if that's the price, it's gonna be hard to justify that. It looks good. The thing about the routing that they said on their own homepage, when they say all input channels in the main left-right can be recorded at the same time, or you may choose to record something different, such as effects, returns, or a pair of mixes. Now, all input, if it's 32 by 32, then you would need 34 to get all input channels plus the main left-right. So something's weird there too. But when they say you could choose to record something different, maybe the routing is a little bit better. Well, we'll see. This would be interesting. Hey, Jay. Trying to Instagram live alongside my normal broadcast, so we're seeing how that's working. Unfortunately, on Instagram live, you can't see the computer that I'm actually. You can't see the screen that I'm talking about. Okay, so that's this Allen Heath thing. Anybody, if you guys know about this thing, let me know, because I'm almost sure it's going to have Desicon drivers. I almost downloaded them to check and see if I could sniff them out. But, last I checked, I was still waiting for Behringer to update the XR18, X32, Midas M32 drivers so that the Windows non-ASIO drivers worked properly. Especially for, you guys have seen a million times, right? Even this, my more simplified routing for the shows and everything, it's quite a bit to do. So you need a bunch of outputs, and they need to be WDM or wave out or whatever, not ASIO ones for some of the Windows functions. So we'll see. If you guys have one, like I said, let me know. I want to hear about how these things work. It'd be cool if they were good. Let's see. Sorry, I got a band practicing as normal. Okay, next thing. Let me close some of these out. I saw a thing on Ryan Harvey's page, and I think I heard about this thing a couple of years ago or last year or whatever, but there was a tuner coming out, vocal tuner called Crispy Tuner, which is this thing. And, I'm always trying to find a better vocal tuner, because auto-tune was great back in the day. The graphical, I'm only talking about graphical stuff, the live stuff, whatever. I think the live stuff is pretty excellent right now, by pretty much everybody. The problem is the graphical tuner. There's Melodyne. Isotope gave up on theirs, and they're saying to buy Melodyne now. Melodyne doesn't let you directly draw the pitches in it, and apparently neither does Revoice Pro, which I was really looking at as well, because there's some neat features on that. You remember Auto-Tune and Waves Tune allow you to draw directly on it, but Auto-Tune is so sketchy. It's still jumping octaves, and it's still just glitchy and crazy. Waves Tune is great, except for that, the whole problem with not being able to offline render with it kind of blows everything. They just made an update where you can change the size of it, so it'd be nice to actually use Waves Tune again, but they've got to get that offline render working reliably and confidently and safely. So anyway, Crispy Tuner came out. I gave it a try. But I guess this was out last year. But then if you go there, it says acquisition by Brainworks Audio. We're happy to announce that the Crispy Tuner and its pitch correction algorithm have been acquired by Brainworks, and so it's not available for purchase anymore. But Ryan Harvey had said, hey, check out Plugin Alliance. Crispy Tuner sitting on there. So here we go. Brainworks BX Crispy Tuner. So I always wondered, is Brainworks Plugin Alliance? Is it like a Slate? Is it like Slate where it goes under their name, but really it's a bunch of other companies, like you know how Slate has other people's stuff he licenses. It's pretty solid. Like I give it a good run, and I had trouble crashing it. It did have a 5,000 samples latency, I think. So there were some issues. Well, the biggest one is okay. So it doesn't use ARA. Okay, watch. Man, I'm getting DMCA'd again by any stray music in my stream, even if it's not recorded music. Sorry about that. So this is probably going to get DMCA'd. I'm going to get really upset. But anyways, so this doesn't have ARA. So you're watching it like you did with Auto-Tune, like you still do with Auto-Tune. Well, actually, Auto-Tune has ARA, but they haven't stuck it in Reaper yet, for one thing. Not that it's going to help them, because the stuff is horrendously broken for 10 years. Anyway, because of the latency, and it doesn't look like it's compensated visually, even though I'm sure it's compensated audibly, it's hard to see where the actual note that you're messing with is. And unfortunately, this is like Melodyne, where you can't actually directly draw the pitches in. There are some tilting abilities, so you really could chop it up pretty hard and then like slice it and move it around in a way that I don't think you can with Melodyne. But I really want one where you could just directly draw in. But all that said, this thing was pretty solid for what it did. I'm not sure what it's going to cost. Hopefully it'll have ARA later on. There was a thing about couldn't connect Rewire, like they said in the release notes that didn't have Rewire yet. So looks like Rewire's coming. I don't know if Rewire was the problem with Waves Tune about the problems that it did make besides the offline rendering. Waves, you've had like 10 years to fix that, so please do. And all the times where you say that that's the desired behavior, desired by who? It's not desired by us that have to use it in the field. Anyways, hopefully we're going to, well, if this thing doesn't end up being really expensive, hopefully enough people will buy it where we'll figure it out. It did have a scaling interface, or a stretchable, draggable interface, which was really nice. That's like the hardest part about Waves Tune, is that it's stuck in that window. So I'd go give it a try. You may like it, you may hate it, but give it a try. Okay, well, next thing. So there's a thing called Ukulele. Oh man, Ukulele Strummer for Contact by Past to Future. And this is a let's read it. It has rarely been easier and more convincing to bring the Hawaiian Island sound of an ukulele to your keyboard. These are real ukulele chords. And it says lots of round robins, easily controllable articulations, and clever scripts, so the strumming sounds amazingly real. So this is for Contact. That's pretty cool, you know, if you want to have ukulele sounds in your music. And given that I found this on Safe Space, this is probably going to get nailed for cultural appropriation, even though we Hawaiians don't really want you to do that. We're happy that you play ukuleles, at least I am, and you guys don't get to speak for me. So, yeah, tired of people being oppressed on my feelings' behalf. My feelings are that if you want to play an ukulele, go play an ukulele. Don't oppress people for that. Some of you guys know I'm a little sensitive about that because of a little thing that happened to me where I got really badly busted for showing how to make an electric ukulele. And I lost a lot over that. And please don't be offended on my behalf. Ukuleles are for you to play. Anyway, the ukulele is a Portuguese instrument. So does that mean that the SJWs have to bust all the Hawaiians for cultural appropriation? I don't know. But just in case these guys get taken down, I was thrilled to learn that here in Hawaii, there is a thing called Audio Hawaii. And they make a whole bunch of, let's see, Hawaiian percussion loops, Hawaiian percussion, concert ukulele strummer loops, concert ukulele strummer, concert uke, the ukes bundle. They make a lot of samples here right in Hawaii. So I got to reach out to these guys and talk to them. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, I would go to audiohawaii.com and check it out. I was surprised to find out that there's a sample maker here in Hawaii. That's awesome. We did find out that there's like a kind of a big electro channel here in Hawaii as well, which was kind of mind-blowing. I guess the guy lives out in like the west side or whatever. I still haven't yet met him. I need to run into him. Also, let's see, there is House Engine MIDI generator plugin. So this looks cool. He says he's got a completely new tool called House Engine. I combined several approaches of my existing generative music tools and created a new plugin that specialized in a very focused thing, creating house music. Basically, it works like this. You feed House Engine with your own MIDI chord progression or load a factory chord progression. House Engine generates new piano phrases, bass lines, melodies, etc. for you. You can preview these phrases inside the plugin. If you like the phrase, you can drag and drop the generated MIDI file to your DAW. There will also be a pro version with the mass exporter. That sounds cool, man. Of course, you were probably going to ask this. I was going to ask this. And he said, however, even though it's targeted at house producers, I receive a lot of feedback where testers misused it for other styles as well. That's what I'm interested in. I wonder how that would go. So, kind of interesting. We'll see how this goes in the next years or so. Minimal Audio put out this Rift plugin. Not sure how much it's going to cost. I'm on Music Radar right now. But it is, man, they say it's a distortion generator, but it does a lot more stuff. This looks pretty interesting. If you can find a video on Rift by Minimal Audio, I'd go take a look at it, especially if you're doing like electronic music. I don't really do that stuff, but I do appreciate those kind of sounds. But even still, I kind of want to go try this out for what it can do, especially the vocals and stuff. So this looks pretty neat. Oh, sorry, my live video got paused. There we go. Yeah, that was a phone call. I'm sorry. Go check this out. Rift by Minimal Audio. Okay. All right. Now, here's something that you're probably waiting for my take on, maybe. RME has their UCX2 out. It's a new interface. So this, I'm not. So it says 11.49 euros. I don't know what that is in real bucks. But like the rest of the RME stuff, they have some weird. Okay, you remember I'm an RME nut. We're all RME nuts, right? Right now I'm talking to you through an RME Digiface USB. But the configuration of these things is always weird. The Digiface USB makes sense to me if you're just using ADAT. I have 4 ADAT mic pre's going into that thing for 32 channels. I have one of the ADAT outputs coming back out to get me 8 analog outs. Fine. But for carrying stuff around, it's always been weird. The Fireface had the 4 channels of mic preamp. I don't know. These things are just weird. UCX2 for $1,100. I probably would buy any old mic preamp, especially like a Focusrite Dynamic or any of the ones that have digital to analog converters as well. Maybe what are the other guys? Audient makes one. PreSonus, I'm sure, makes one. And just plug that into a Digiface USB, because I don't know. So this thing, for that much money, I mean, you'd still have money left over in that case, because this it's got 2 mic preamps on it. It's got 2 real MIDI ports. It's got another 2 instrument inputs, another 4 line inputs. It's got a bunch of line outputs, headphone outs, good metering, it looks like. But just 2 mic preamps. I don't know. I think I'd be better off with the Digiface. But if this is the type of device you need, it's by RME, so it's obviously gonna be good. There's a word clock. I don't know if that's input or output or both. ADAT in and out. So it's the funny way that RME always names things. Like, for instance, it says 40 channel advanced USB audio interface. So to get to that 40 channels, let's see. They got 8 analog inputs. They got another 8 ADAT inputs. So that's 16 inputs. 16 inputs, and they got at least 16. Well, how many outputs they got? Looks like they got 16 outputs, so that's 32. And then you got a set of headphone outs, so that's 34. And then it looks like he's got AES and SPDIF I/O on like a DB15 connector or something, and so that's gonna be another pair. So yeah, that gets you to your 40 inputs, which is a screwy way of counting, but yeah, they've always done that. Like the 9652s we used way back in the day, right? So there you go. Looks good. If you're in for this kind of thing, I would probably go a different route. But you know, I love the RME stuff. So if this is the configuration you need, I would definitely go for it. Okay, and so finally, after all that, there is Ampeg. It announces SVT Suite, the authentic Ampeg SVT plugin. Now this looks cool. Who built it? I wonder who built this thing, right? Did somebody at Safe Space spill the beans? So, you know, because we know Brainworks did something, right? Yeah, I wonder who did this. Yeah, I'm waiting until somebody spills the beans on who actually made these things, but I like this comment here. This plugin is years late and 199 short. For that reason, I'm out. And he's right. You know, this is stuff we were asking the amp manufacturers to get in on early. But it still looks cool. Let's see how this goes. It could be good. There could be more amplifiers coming out from them later on. And with that, I am out. I gotta go do all kinds of stuff today. So I'll see you guys later. I'll see you guys next week, actually.